it could be pissing down rain. And I don't go, oh, shit, here we go, and psych myself up. I just walk straight out and do my warm-ups, banging, we live in an apartment block, and then I'll get straight out on the street and get running, and I love it, man. Every single drop of that rain coming down. And to be able to even do that, men are like, oh, it's raining. I'm like, grow some balls and get out in that. The rain's not acid, and it's not going to kill you by running in it. And that's how deep it is. Like, we're at a point where men don't even want to run in rain because you're going to get wet. Let that whole conversation sink into that masculinity that you've spoken about, and get out and be vulnerable. And that's, if you can't get there, how you going to unpack what's in your invisible backpack.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the INTOCHANGE podcast, and I've got an absolute cracker of an episode for you today. I'm joined by Jeffery Morgan, who spent 15 years in jail for robbing banks and is now giving so much back to a community which he once took so much from. See, Jeff didn't have the best start to life. He was abused by his dad from a very young age and jumped out a window to run away from home at the age of 12. This meant he did anything and everything he needed to do to get by, which included leading up to him robbing banks. See, Jeff spent that time in jail and he didn't become a victim of his circumstances. He turned it around and now he's the hero of his story. Not only that, but last year he also won Mindset Coach of the Year for 2022 and is helping so many other people to make changes in their lives. So, if you want a bit of inspiration, this is the episode you want to watch. Tune in, have a listen. We've got an amazing story to share with you guys. I'll see you in a second. Jeffrey's got a very, very similar story to myself. We both spent a chunk of our time in prison, but this is just testimony that no matter where you are, no matter where you've been, no matter where you come from, you can always turn your life around and become a better version of yourself. Yes. So, Jeff, my brother, can you share a little bit of your story with us, okay? So, right now you're doing the mindset coaching, you're helping and inspiring the young community, you're doing a lot for the community and giving back to a community that you once took from. So, huge. Can you share a little bit about, I guess, how that journey started for you, what actually ended up landing you in jail, and then how you overcame that?
Young kid, growing up with a disciplined father, a German-Austrian father, and basically wanted more from me. His way of doing that was physical. That led to me jumping out a window at 12 years of age, and that led to me living on the streets, not knowing where food, next warm clothes, a roof would come from, and basically that led to a life of crime. Survival at the start, and then habits and rituals of a life of crime became the habit. And that led to me serving 18 years in custody, over 25 years in crime. And 13 years ago, to this, not to this day, but to this year, I've been home. So unlucky for some, for me it's been an absolutely amazing journey. And as you said, I've given back to the community now in all aspects, whether it's young kids at schools through to corporates and people in life in general, every sort of aspect you could possibly think of, we're tapping into those individuals. So it's been a great journey, and as you said, man, like, it's what you focus on and who you want to become, right, and what you can give back to the world, man.
Yeah, man, thanks very much for sharing that with us. Now, can you go a little bit deeper into the actual crimes that got you to be locked up and obviously spend that, was it 18 years you said?
Yeah, 12 years of age, I'll get arrested for break and enter at that point in time. A lot of those crimes were just, as I said, survival, because I'd gotten into a cafe. I'd say it was a cafe, and we sneak under this little thing. We'd sit there and eat food, and one day I decided to reach out for the red frogs. As a younger kid, 12 years of age, all lollies were good, and found a bundle of money and realised, hey, there must be money in these shops. Yeah. The life of break and entering went down that pathway, and from there went into stolen cars, and those stolen cars, the first car was a stolen Porsche, and it just sort of went down that sort of pathway, and I went into ram raids through that period where we, obviously ram raid crew, I'd got charged for a lot of this stuff I'm talking about. Yep. But all these luxury cars, late night robberies, everything that we could, you could lift off a place that wasn't nailed down, we'd take and on sell it or whatever it was. Led to bank snatches, which was us basically walking into banks, snatching money off bank counters. People depositing those, bank tellers counting up at the end of the day, stuff of that nature. And then that led into the life of a bank robber, and we basically went down that path, and until I served my last sentence, 7-year sentence in Melbourne in 2003. 2010, I come home and never looked back, and I've been home for 13 years. So there's a lot of evolutions in those crimes. I built a huge reputation around being an innovator around crime, and in that world, especially in our state. And I think, I just learned that I was good at putting my time into things, and that's where I sort of got good and transitioned out of that world. I'm good at putting time into a space. Let's put it into the right space and see what happens.
Yep.
And that's all I did. And I got to a point I got sick of my own shit, to be straight out and honest.
Yep.
The enabling behaviour. Why are you doing this? I'd matured enough. 36, I gave up crime. As I said, I thought about it at 29. I thought about it at 16, but I was so entrenched. And people always say, mate, you could have gave it up earlier. Why didn't you do it? Think about how many times you're a trainer, how many times people tell you they're going to get fit, lose weight.
Man, we've all got that journey, right? We've all got it. We always find that point in our journey when we need it, right?
Absolutely. And it's the habits. They're entrenched. They're neurological pathways. And I built those from a young age, 12 years of age, to survive by myself on the streets. No one was coming to save me. There was nights I'd walk around the streets in the city by myself.
Hey, hello. Sorry for interrupting your podcast, but I just wanted to quickly jump on and tell you about the must-have personal development tool for 2023, and it's called the Happier, Healthier You Journal. So I'll take you back to about 6 years ago. I'd just gotten out of jail for the last time and was starting my journey of personal development and growth. There was heaps of gurus, heaps of information available, but so much so that it became confusing. So I came up with the Happier, Healthier You Journal to help you to navigate what can be an absolute minefield. From the very get-go, you open the page and it'll challenge you to dive deep with self-assessments, daily activities, and check-ins to figure out exactly where you're at, where you'd like to be. And then from there, the journal becomes the tool to help you to bridge that gap. So to get your hands on this, click on the link below and don't forget to use Interchange 10 at checkout for a cheeky 10% off. I'll see you back over on the episode.
And, looking for a place to sleep that would be safe for me. So whether I climbed on roofs, and it became it all crossed over into my life of crime, because I'd climb on roofs and I'd be like, I can get into this place.
Yeah, looks like a good place to sneak or something like that.
But also I'd be able to sleep here where it was covered over, air conditioning units. They were warm during winter. It's things of that nature that people wouldn't even contemplate, And I drove through this beautiful suburb here, up on the Goldie, and you think of that life versus this life, a 12-year-old kid just wandering around the streets. Those habits became rituals, and that became my life. And until I paused and said, mate, what are you telling yourself? Stop enabling this bullshit behaviour, mate. And I started to step away from it. Unfortunately, during that, I did a 5-year sentence for bank robbery, and I was educating myself, thinking a different way, talking to different people in custody who had never been in trouble other than that one time. They'd grown up around a different way of life versus the way I'd grown up,
of course,
in and amongst all that criminality, drugs, alcohol, domestic violence, normal behaviours. So I said, I need to learn off other people and put myself in that space, and that's where it grew, and it's grown into a global business, and something I'm proud of, man. It's 13 years to this date. As I said, some people call it unlucky. I call it a great time.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And that's the thing. I guess that's testimony to it doesn't matter what our past is. It doesn't have to be the future or our present. We can make those changes, right?
Absolutely. And you've been through it. And
I've been through
you're
it, brother.
Great testimony. And I think the fact that 8 years down a path of drug abuse to your body, and at one point in time, you think to yourself, far out, I want more out of life, or what else is out there. And this is huge for everybody out there. We get caught in a program of going to work every single morning, and we don't take out, and this is how I translate your journey, my journey, for somebody else listening to this. What are you thinking in your head? What are your goals, dreams, aspirations while you sit in that office that you might not like working in? You might even like working in, but is it your ideal job? If I asked you, what would you ultimately do if you had unlimited money, resources, time? Who would you spend it with? Where would you go? And all of the above. Are you doing that? And if you're not, I want you to start to say, hey, do the same thing I did, you did.
Yeah.
Cut the bullshit. How can I change and transition out of who this person currently is to who I want to be, and just be grateful in that journey. Make sure you enjoy the ride, because in my journey it took me 16 to 36, 20 years. Yours was a period of time where at some point in time you said, I need to transition out and change. And you get to that point and you start to move towards the life you truly want. And when you get there, it is bliss.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt again, but if you're liking what you see so far, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Remember, all your support is really appreciated, and I'll see you back over on the episode.
It is absolutely bliss. The art of finding happiness everywhere. I posted that this morning, and I'll share that with because people go, happiness everywhere is bullshit. And I'm like, nah.
It's perspective,
truly,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's your perspective on that. And I didn't have to, but I shared the perspective on that and say to people, it's the ability to continuously move forward and know that you're not getting caught in stress is coming into your life, suffering, pain, heartache. You can put labels on those things, but for me, if I sit in that, I sit in something that's toxic, and that's not what I want. They're not the emotions, the life that I want. So what can I do to create change? And for me, all I do is I've written out the emotions. How do you want to spend your time? Who do you want to be with? What do you want to head towards? You got a board sitting right here, and there's probably 10 things on that board, and people can't see that, but let me tell you, it's very powerful, and that manifests your actions behind that, because it's not going to happen by yourself sitting down, laying up.
Thinking about it, you got to put that down. You got to actually have direction, right?
So take this whole conversation to anyone sitting here listening. I want to start that business. I want to travel and see the pyramids. I want to do X, Y, and Z. We met someone the other day, me and my partner, and they were traveling for a whole year. They've taken a year off work.
Love that.
We met them over in New Zealand, and mate, they just said, I want to see these things before I'm too old to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful. How many people will do that? We're programmed to go into this workspace, work, pay your bills, travel here.
Living out of fear, right?
100%. And is that your true, authentic life? Before people think I'm beating up on you, if you truly had those unlimited resources, time, who would you spend it with? Where would you go?
Yeah.
You write that out and you go, it's not what I'm living. What can you do to start moving towards it? Do the same thing you've done and write out that list and manifest every single action. And I'm not telling you to quit your job. But
not just yet anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Be smart about it.
That's later down the track.
But maybe the money, not maybe, you're definitely investing that money towards a goal. And you look at, someone like Gymshark as an example, who did it in his own garage, and he was delivering pizzas at the time. And it's a huge story, became $1 billion company. So people that say, my dreams aren't relevant, they're only irrelevant to yourself if you leave them sitting in your brain and carry those to your grave. And my biggest thing to yourself, action what I've done, and your journey towards greatness as well, is your journey based around how you perceive it, but the actions you take behind that list that you create for yourself around your authentic life.
Now, something you said then about, obviously, you can either action or you can't. I think that's a great concept, and the way that I put it to people when I speak to them is, whether you like it or not, you're having conversations with yourself. Whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally is completely up to you, because the subconscious mind is a powerful fucking thing. It's one thing to just think, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, but subconsciously to then go and actually make that change takes a lot of time. So for you to transition from, being this crim, being this lifestyle, to then being like, hey, I want to do something more and actually help people, how is that process? Because I know for me, when I got out of jail, I struggled to talk to people that hadn't been to jail. I struggled to actually talk to people that were just normal day-to-day people like you and me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How is that journey for you? How'd that take place for you?
You sort of hit the nail on the head. It's about, for me, I had to surround myself with people I didn't understand the conversation of. And it was like, let's say tech, especially computers, and people might understand that. Something goes wrong with your computer, you freak out, you're trying to press buttons and what works, where should I even look for the problem, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes very stressful. A tech guy comes in, or girl, I should say, and they just go 2 minutes and then it's all fixed. And you're like, how did you do that? And this is, once you allow yourself to be vulnerable, and we were talking about this before, you just say, I need help. I really do. And when I say, people say, then whether it's you think it's people get in this concept of help and counselling as I'm not good enough or something of that same perception because people have beaten you up for so long. So therefore, I don't want to be vulnerable, nor do I want to be judged. But once you put your guard down and say I don't care or give a stuff about what anyone thinks,
Yeah.
then you get to a position where you're so vulnerable and say I'd love to learn from yourself so I can grow and prosper in this beautiful thing we call life. So instead of saying now I'm vulnerable and I need help and I'm counselling, you just even flip that mentality around the conversation, change your language to change the outcome of what you truly want in your life. And that's powerful in itself because, as you said, your subconscious mind now, you are, because whether you think it or not, it'll happen.
100%.
And if you're feeding it goodness for its soul, its mind, your mind, yeah, and your actions, the only thing that will come out of that is the emotions, behaviours, and life that you want.
Right.
And that means I just say, hey Benny, I don't know what I'm doing in this. How do I train here?
Yeah.
And what are the benefit and value of training? And you say, mate, you'll live a healthier life, a longer life, quality of life, independence, and all of the above. Then my ears prick up, and I have that conversation. And once I'm vulnerable enough in that space, I say, hey, I don't know nothing about business, and I sit with somebody that's already killing it. That would be my biggest advice. Have conversations and be willing to be not the smartest, wisest, richest, fastest, healthiest, strongest person in that room, and you'll grow like you've never grown before.
Yeah, right. So this is definitely something that I struggled with as well, was a bit of that imposter syndrome when I first obviously got out and started to do, even now, still to this day, sometimes I'm like, take a check. I'm like, fuck, man, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Is that something you struggle with also?
I think we all do, for sure. Like, you got to be real. You're like, I'm not in this circle. At some point in time, everybody was where we were.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to think about, right? And we all build up to it, and we shift. That's how I shifted out of that imposter syndrome, because I'm like, you're not here. Yeah, maybe I get invited to different things, and they'll fly out on a chopper to an island, and I'm like, what the... But obviously, if you've got some specific goals that are really driven towards your journey, and it could be anything in life, tech, health and fitness industry, whatever it is, beauty, and you start developing relationships with people that are ahead of you in the game, which you'd be crazy not to, because people go, I'll do it myself, and you will. But I say this all the time. I'd race you. We're in the Goldie now. We go to Sydney. It's a pretty easy drive for those that don't know. But say it was a windy road, and I say to you, 10 John Street in Sydney.
Yeah.
I got my GPS on. The drive's the same. So we get to that point. Unless you were to follow me, I will beat you to that location. And that's why it's important for people to drop your guard, be vulnerable, surround yourself with people ahead of you in the game.
I've already been there.
And they've been there, and at that point in time say, I'm willing to learn, grow, and prosper in this beautiful thing we call life. I'm vulnerable, I'm open. But when I say vulnerable, I'm just willing to learn. So I shift the language, and I always look, and this is a huge tip for everybody. How do you speak to yourself? What words are you putting in, and what could you swap out to see a better outcome in the conversation? Because as you said, your subconscious mind will take that, and that's what will feed it. And for those that don't know the Emoto study, go out and have a look at it, and you understand the study around water, rice, and so forth.
Secrets of Water, it's called, I think.
Yeah, and
great movie to listen to.
Have a look at it. The Emoto study, for anybody out there, EMOTO, and you understand what we tell ourselves will become. And we literally had a conversation with another Aboriginal man doing great things in business. And all that conversation was down that same path, brother. And I can't tell you how powerful, and my partner was listening to it, that it created a next conversation. I said, I'm going to actually ring somebody because I've got a feeling that I'll shift that even for myself. I know that we can grow that into something.
Yeah.
And they went, mate, I'm interested straight away. They bought in because I pricked their ears around the benefit and value to that conversation. They love doing this. I love doing this. How can we combine it? And on the back end of that, we're going to be able to procure a whole heap of funding to help people on the opposite end of it. And one of the first conversations was around those that have been in custody, have a criminal record, can't get jobs. Then you've got, different companies that can't get these people, but they want people.
Yeah.
How can we
How can we bring those two
transition them in?
together? I love that, man.
And that crosses over into employment, incarceration, mental health and well-being, which I obviously do, and construction. So you put those four together,
Yep.
and you go to the government and say, here's what we've got. What type of funding do you think would come
Yeah.
back? And
Yep.
we're both skilled at that. Sal brings up, hey, you're not skilled at looking after that amount of money and so forth. Budgeting. I said, mate, what we'll do is get somebody else in and build a team around the actual module. Let's build the business plan first, and this is huge for everybody. Have intentions behind everything and think and manifest everything that you put into your body. And I'm not just talking foods, I'm talking thoughts, I'm talking conversations.
Yeah.
And watch your life and how you operate at a totally different level.
Man, something that kept coming up with that you said then was around vulnerability. Now, this is something that I feel like so many men struggle with, actually being able to talk, actually being able to speak about how, I guess, how they're really feeling inside, actually being able to ask for help. So for someone that might be in that position, what would be the first step? What would be something that you'd suggest for them?
Yeah, you just got to own it. Like, any action you've taken, I've been, mate, growing up in the neighbourhood I grew up in, violence ruled the roost. And,
vulnerability isn't masculine in the way that we're brought up, right?
Huge, right? Because especially in jail too, you've been there.
Man,
Be vulnerable and you're going to
get shivved.
You get eaten, right? Yeah, exactly. And for those that don't know what shivved is, they'll pull a knife out and do something to you.
Yeah.
They'll say, give me your buy-up, which is your food that you've got in your cell.
I'll take the food that you're eating tonight, yeah.
And I'm not talking, mate, he'll tell you, people for cartons of milk that are this small would shiv you, based around you being the weak version.
Yeah.
So it's a real flip into the toughest place on this earth, apparently, where we don't be vulnerable. And then you come outside and you see it even tenfold outside where people... I just came out of a bank, funnily enough.
Yeah, we'll talk about this earlier. Yeah.
And I want to share this with people. Blokes king hitting the screen, and I've walked in, I'm on the back end of the line, and all these men said not one word. There's a lady behind the counter. He's like, effing this, effing that, and so and so and so and so, smashing the screen. And he could have walked around the screen, but obviously he's stressed out. He's just stressed out this way. So I walk through past all these men, and I say, hey, brother, can I have a conversation? We sort of have a quick conversation, and I tell him, is it worth it? Do you want to go to jail? Obviously, talking like that, I know you've been to jail. And and I said, just go and say, cancel my account, walk out, brother, and I'll look after it after you go. So he walks up to the counter, does that, walks out. To be vulnerable, you just have to listen, pause for a moment and really listen to yourself, but also listen to the environment and say the things that person needs to hear with the benefit and value, that same conversation around it, and their ears will prick up. And that bloke's ears this morning pricked up and said, I don't want to get locked up underneath. Subconscious starts to think about it and cuts out of the bank. We don't do that to our mates, a lot of us, and we'll just let shit roll. And I was that kid, womanizing women and just... As you know, high five, Morgs, you're killing it, brother.
Yeah. To the bros, it's a fucking story, and it gets you that fucking, street cred.
And like the amount of time I'm looking right into this chick, right into that chick, thinking it was me. I needed the healing in myself. Yes. And until I took that ownership and stepped forward, I was never going to be a better version of myself. And things happened out of those things that I put myself in those situations constantly. And to me, that's my fault.
Yeah.
People say, oh, but the girl did this, that, and the other. Whether she cheated on me or not, I have no right to then project anything onto that person.
Yeah.
And until you sort of take ownership of that and say, I could have been better in that situation, I could have done things better once I matured around crime, I was never going to grow. And we just don't as men. And, the DV situation is huge at the moment.
Yep.
That, like, so many men are coming in contact with that. Until you take the ownership of that and say, why am I built that specific way to respond that way? And I say to people, try not to get into judgment. Try not to push these people aside, but sit down with them and be a fucking strong male. And when you do that and say, hey, for yourself, do you feel good about that? If you sit with someone, there's not one person I don't think that will say, I'll show you.
I feel like the fucking
boss.
man, yeah.
That's it, and go, oh no, but that's how I grew up. And say, but do you feel good? And they'll say no. And I say, well, what would be the first step you could take next time you get in that situation to deal with it better? And that allows them to start to think about something they've never paused to think about. Because when they subconsciously, I'm challenging your ego, you want to mess with me, I grew up in a violence hood, here's how I deal with it. Until you do that and challenge that person, they will never know a different way to life.
Yeah.
And the amount of men that I've come in contact with that have owned that and stepped out and said, hey, I was that person, and thanks for doing that to me, they've grown into a whole different being. And until we do that, that male strength that should be there, the warrior, the leader, the bread maker back in the day, will never come to the forefront. We've got so many men that just are not those men in front of me.
Wounded masculine.
In the bank. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
love that term, and it's it's something that's really present.
Yeah.
And like so many people point it out to the point where women are talking about it now.
Yeah.
And where are the men? And until we it's because we've done those actions, whether it's womanizing, domestic violence, not standing up for ourselves, and not creating or being all of us.
Yep.
And people do. They think, at the point in time where you have to, I challenge you, and you're in a space in jail, you'll fight me. But fight for yourself right here, right now, when everything's comfortable, towards the life that you truly want. And then you start to build the person whose word, even your word being your bond. I'll come meet you at 10 o'clock.
Word,
People
bruh.
show, like it kills me, right?
Yeah, man.
To do it for yourself. I'm going to train tomorrow morning. It's comfortable. It's rainy outside. I'm going to just take it easy. Go and run in that fucking rain and run hard, and do not fucking appreciate every single raindrop, appreciate every single second, just as you do, right?
Yeah, brother.
Now that you're home free. And people just don't realise it. We were in New Zealand. I'll give you a great example of it. Secret hot baths. Big shout out to them. Beautiful place. If you're ever over there, Rotorua, get down and check it out.
Yep.
Got these hot baths in the middle of the forest. Unbelievable. Starts pissing down rain. Me and my partner, she's very grateful too. How good is this experience going to be? So we jump in the car, drive there. And he goes, you wouldn't believe how many people cancel. I said, mate, you're in a hot bath. The rain's coming down. You're in a rainforest looking space. Won't bone. It's just,
man.
people no appreciation.
Not even that. Just not even be able to get out of the comfort zone, right? That discomfort. That little bit of discomfort you can grow from such an experience like that, man. It's like you've got something to be grateful for, and the more you have to be grateful for, the more you are grateful for, right?
Huge. If no one's ever not run in the rain, go out and do it. And then
100% recommend
understand
that.
it.
100%.
And like you get hot when you're running, so it's beautiful to get like cool yourself down and
The feeling though, it's primal.
and just make sure if you got headphones, because I've done this before, where they're not waterproof, they're gonna mess up. So you make sure you got a set of waterproof headphones. But I'm intentional to that space, and it's almost liberating. And same thing. I'm stepping up. If I say I'm going out for that run, Boo will tell you, man, it could be pissing down rain. And I don't go, oh shit, here we go, and psych myself up. I just walk straight out and do my warm-ups, banging, we live in an apartment block, and then I'll get straight out on the street and get running, and I love it, man. Every single drop of that rain coming down. And to be able to even do that, men are like, oh, it's raining. I'm like, grow some balls and get out in that. The rain's not acid, and it's not going to kill you by running in it. And that's how deep it is. Like, we're at a point where men don't even want to run in rain because you're going to get wet. Let that whole conversation sink into that masculinity that you've spoken about, and get out and be vulnerable. And that's, if you can't get there, how you going to unpack what's in your invisible backpack? The past actions that you have carried that have created heaviness within your life. Be proud of who you are, and be even prouder of who you've become. And I've got nothing but respect for someone like yourself. 8 years down a drug abuse path to come out and change your life, very powerful. And my biggest tip to you is know that you can do anything, and that there's no imposter in what you're doing. You're on a trajectory towards magic. To see that action in itself, the board up here and things you've written out on other boards, mate, very powerful. And that's for everybody out there. Have intentions around everything and keep growing every single day.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, my man.
No, I acknowledge you and I see you. It's important.
Good man, brother.
Honestly, that's something men don't do. And if you got a mate out there that's doing good shit, get around him and,
Fuck
and let
yes.
him know. Because that's a huge thing too. Envy and jealousy. I would do anything and everything for those that want to be on the same trajectory.
Yeah.
And if you don't, same thing. You might think that I don't have that intention, but for me, I'm going to be very intentful towards those that are on the same path. It's like anything. You want to go clubbing this weekend? I don't want to do that. I was sure, mate, if you talk to me and tell me that, go out and jump up on the podium and run amok, right? Take your shirt off and dance. But if you're going down this path of business, you better be showing up every single day, and we're going to have that conversation.
Fuck yeah.
And I'll hold you accountable to your words, not mine. Why? Because that's what good friends and real men do to one another.
Yeah, exactly right, bro. It's about building each other up rather than tearing each other down. And I had this conversation with someone else the other day. No one that is ever doing better than you will ever tear you down.
Never
tear you
I
down.
don't have time to be heavy for
Yeah.
myself. I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
time to be heavier for your problems, issues, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I don't have time in general just to focus on anything but my journey towards what I truly want out of life. And too many people get in this conversation around, have you seen what Benny's doing, or have you seen what so-and-so's doing? It's not my business, and it's something that I'm huge on. What people say about me isn't my business. The awareness of how I respond to them is the awareness of my own life and what I want out of this life.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how powerful that actually is.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Now, we were speaking earlier as well about what you've been doing over the last few days, and you've been up at the National Suicide Awareness Week. So obviously that's something that's very, I guess, important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge for me. Obviously, a brother and sister to suicide.
Yeah.
And I think, what you spoke about before, the vulnerability, the men not being the men these days, we're just in a position where we're constantly beaten up on ourselves. And we carry that. We don't unpack it because I'm not going to be vulnerable. You're going to judge
All that
me.
shit in here, and it stays with us forever, right?
What will happen, and I think the imposter syndrome was that I hadn't owned my own shit.
Yeah.
And once I said, I'm going to put it all on the table, an M&M 8 Mile movie is huge for us. That's something that taught me a very valuable lesson. And that means that at the end of the movie, he raps first, he sings about everything that you're going to sing about me, and it kills the bloke on the other side of that. And that allows you to then, same thing, when you put all your cards on the table, what can anybody say about me?
Yeah.
And if I'm developing and growing from the person that I used to be, then that's going to be a very powerful journey in itself.
Man, I love that analogy that you said there about the obviously the 8 Mile movie. He's literally just put everything out there on the table so that no one else could do it for him, right?
Yeah.
Like that there is like the perfect. It's like if you can be vulnerable enough to put that shit out there, what are they really going to say about you? And this is something that I struggle with so much. Struggle with so much. Was for years, like as obviously a PT, but then I was this drug dealer and this, junkie in the past. And that was something that I really struggled with, was actually being my genuine self. But the minute I actually went out there and put my story out there, I didn't get the response that I thought. It wasn't, you piece of shit. It was, fuck man, I wish more people or more men had the courage to speak about that stuff.
Love it. The balls to do that. And who would do that?
How
Because people-
how liberating is it, right?
Here's the thing, the people that judge you, they've got something going on underneath themselves that they need to deal with. Do they think they're better than somebody else, as an example, right?
Yeah.
You're a junkie or something like that. Man, look at the one value behind that. To go from that life, destructiveness to constructiveness, what's in between it? What a powerful mindset. I always talk about this invincible mindset, and people go, well, there's no such thing. I'm like, mate, the invincible mindset is the ability, similar to what I spoke about before, to continuously get hit and not stop the momentum towards your most offensive life. And that, you're not going to be in a position where you're not going to get hit. People have this mentality. They think I'm, going through this process where stress isn't going to come into my life. People aren't going to die in my life. There isn't things happening that I don't want to happen in my life. But in the end, It's about how I'm able to overcome that in that little process to create that invincible mindset. And something that I say to people is, something I can't recommend enough, because we do it in the program with people that have been through 5 different traumas and deep traumas are able to overcome that within 13 days by shifting that perspective we spoke about before.
And it's all just in that mindset, right?
Oh, man. Because everyone, what happens when a problem happens? What do we talk about? Hey, man, guess what happened to me today? Come over and we chat about it. Let's have a beer. And then the next bloke validates it and says, don't worry about that person or those
They validate that
people.
victim mindset, right?
And it's all victimization,
Yep.
right? Until you take that ownership like I did, like you did at
brother.
point in our journey, people respect that. And I just spoke at the National Suicide Prevention Forum. And we had a lady say, I've seen speaker on speaker. I've been in the circuit for 6 years, and it was the most powerful speech I've ever heard. And now we want people to understand the depth of, it doesn't matter where your story started.
Yes.
It matters where it ends. And
Yeah,
that's
man.
something very important for everybody, because we'll focus on the problem during that.
Yep.
And that's where that imposter syndrome comes in. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be here. This isn't my space. I'm not validated in amongst these people that are at this level. If you grow at what you go through,
Yeah,
you're
man,
going to
that's
leave
it.
people behind.
Yep.
Reality check.
It's going to happen. Inevitable.
And it doesn't mean that I don't still have friends that want this lifestyle, maybe party in that.
Yeah.
And I'll say hi and bye to these people, but are they in my circle every single day? No, because it's just not my journey. And as long as I stay in amongst that, it's going to cause us some serious issues in amongst what I truly want out of life. Just like your list up here, and I'll keep referring to that. It's
misalignment.
Yeah,
it's misalignment massively.
You're surrounding yourself with something. And anyone that's been in any relationship where you've been misaligned for whatever reason, is focus on yourself. What misalignments are there for yourself, and don't beat up on 2 different things. I was in a relationship, my last relationship before Sal, and it was there was a lot of alignment. Then at one stage there become this misalignment based around what they wanted and what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I respected that. And if you truly love someone, I wish you all the best.
100%,
in life.
brother.
And we moved on very amicably to a position where they're doing great things in life. In my life, I was able to meet Sal, my current partner. And to me, we're at a position. And like, you just never know what life dishes out and where you're heading. But in general, don't beat yourself up and think why. Start to think about your alignment to what you're stepping into. That time, energy, and effort into any environment, I always call it teeing off. TEE. Time, energy, and effort into an environment you step into. Is it worth it? Does this align with what I'm about to do? And then you can stop yourself beating up on or adding to what's already your invisible backpack that you're not unpacking because you're not vulnerable. And as I said, once you get to that position, you'll have a cry, man. I'm telling you. I don't care how tough you are. I grew up in one of the toughest, streets in Australia's history, and it was hectic. And then went through all those environments of those maximum security jails, where it was dog eat dog, and sitting in the back of a prison truck having a cry, and then sitting in a cell having a cry.
Yeah, bro.
I think
Real
the
talk.
realization of what I truly wanted and who I was at that point in time wasn't aligning, just as was spoken about, and it was time for me to step out and step up to the fucking real version of Jeffery Morgan, who is the version of that. You're no longer in survival mode. You've got enough skills. You're equipped to deal with shit. And until you put that or yourself in that space around other people that help you grow, you'll stay in the same position you've always been.
Couldn't agree with you more, brother. 100%. Like you said, taking ownership of that shit and realizing that whatever's happening for you is a matter of what you've done previously. It doesn't have to be the future for you, though, if you choose to change it, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to focus on a future, and who's focusing right now? I think about it like this: who's focusing on the emotions that you don't want within your life?
Right.
So I say, write that list out. You go anger, resentment, envy, whatever, jealousy, or whatever it is, right? Want to come hang around me? That's what I'm going to dish out to you. And you're like, hell no, I'm not.
Gotta make you fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then you go, oh, well, what do you want? Happiness, contentment, fulfillment, whatever, right?
Yeah, bro.
So now I want you to write out what that looks like. Where is it? Who's it with? What space? Time, energy, and effort to that environment. Is it worth it now? And then that's so intentional towards the life that you truly want. And as you said, I just don't have time. It's not because I don't. People go, oh, you're not talking to me. I'm like, bro, you're partying every weekend, and I wish you all the very best in your life.
Yeah, bro.
Go and party, rip your shirt off and dance up there, and make sure you post videos and love life to its degree.
Yep.
Go over to Ibiza, see all the major DJs, because same thing, if I'm going to go in that space, and then maybe even become a promoter or manager or something of that nature, so that you're
Just make the fucking most of it at least.
Hundreds, so whatever space you go into, time, energy, and effort into this cup, make it work.
Yeah.
And watch your life, man, flip to a space you never thought possible. And people just don't understand that, because we are programmed to go through school, work, travel once here or there, and each to their own. It's a free world. You do you. Same thing. If you're happy in that space, go hard, but know that there's always more to life. It's just a matter of what you actually want out of your life, and how hard you want to work for somebody else's goals or dreams, or work for your own.
You keep saying a lot about hard work, brother. So obviously what you do at the moment, there's something intentional that you do every day. So how do you start your day? What's your morning routine like that has got you to, I guess, where you are today? Because it definitely, let's go back 18 years ago, 10 years, 15 years ago even, you weren't the same person you are today. So what changes have you made to start your day?
I'd say I was the same person in one way. The discipline, man, the structure. Like even in jail, I'd get up and go through this whole routine.
I let you just post about that yesterday, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been there, right?
Yeah, man.
And I think one of the biggest things, I heard someone else talk about, it's so true. Wes Watson spoke about this.
Okay.
For those that don't know, Wes, go and check him out. Watson Fit on Insta. He's and doing unbelievable things. Served 10 years himself, turned that life around. $1 million mansion.
Fucking love those
10
stories, man.
luxury cars, penthouse apartment he's bought. He's absolutely killing it in the coaching space. Check him out.
Yeah.
But the hard work and discipline started back in jail. So I'd get up, and same thing, when that door opened, I wasn't going to let someone walk in my cell and do what they wanted to do at some point in time. And because I was so well known and I was fit within our community, I had to keep myself fit, be ready at any stage of life. And I think that taught me it's the same thing. Was I doing something different then? I'm doing the same thing as I was then, just in a constructive way.
Yeah,
sure. I took that same skill of being ready anytime. And I think if you're ready in life around your health and well-being, you're not going to end up in hospital. I haven't been sick for years. Even during the last couple of years when shit really hit the fan, I had no stress. And when I found out that I had it, I didn't even know I had it. So that would be the biggest. It was only because my partner had it. She tested positive. I said, I better go and check myself. Yeah. And then, mate, I didn't even know I had it. So my biggest thing is being ready all the time. And that means if you get a business opportunity, Richard Branson jumps in this lift, what's your elevator pitch? Can you tell me that off the bat? I say to people, how many seconds in a day? They don't know. What are your goals? Do you know how long a workout takes? I literally worked this out the other day. I was on a machine, 18 seconds on a machine. I did 10 reps, and as an example, and I went, wow, how many times X amount of exercises, as you know, and on a programming level. And I went, is that all it takes for a workout? Wow, if I had that much rest period. So I posted that up, got that saved in my phone. And I say to people who tell me that I don't have time, you're not intentional. So that version of myself was way back then.
Yeah.
I'd get up, and I'd go through this whole process. And in jail, whether it was meditation, journaling, I did heaps of journaling towards the life I wanted, and how there was misalignment, and how I needed to start the shift at. What was my first behaviours that I needed to shift, and what was the first actions around those behaviours. So if you're eating bad out here, you're not doing the business stuff that you're thinking about doing, or you're even in business and you're procrastinating because you have the imposter syndrome, what do you need to do? Take the first step. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bang, step into the action and create something that you never thought possible. And those habits and rituals created discipline, which created structure. And out here now, habit stack. You might go for a morning walk, isn't it? Which is what I do. Listen to a podcast. At some point in time, get the 5 to 8 cracking in my ears. And I sit there, meditate, get the sun to come up, 5 to 10 minutes of that at least.
At least sunlight first thing in the morning, yeah, bro.
And I'll just look straight at it as much as I possibly can. And I'm just looking at all the different components of life, whether it's someone like Huberman, these are people that you can look up, Hoff and the breathing
all great
techniques,
guys, yeah.
all these, and there's different people out there around different things that are at a really high level. They understand how do you look after your heart. I'm doing every single component of that to make sure, to the point where, whether it's things I'm consuming in the morning, for the brain as an example, foods that I'm putting in, how you feel, function and look, the actions I'm taking, those that I've just spoken about, whether it's exercise, and then same thing, your business stuff. So if I'm getting up at 5 in the morning, by 9 a.m, I might have done 50 things towards the life that I truly want.
Yeah.
Our goal this year, we've crushed a lot of it already, but we're moving towards a space where I'm going to step back and work on the business, not in the business as much. Will I talk? For sure. Will I travel the world? Absolutely. I want to travel the world more than I want to talk, I suppose. Man. And if I can do both, where I talk in a space, spend 5 days there, which is what we started to do this year. We've been, the last 2 months, we haven't been home. And build this house that we talked about, 3-story house from scratch with the gym down the bottom. People come over, they can train, podcast room, the whole lot.
Of course.
Then that's the intentional life that I work towards. And people say, mate, you're different. It's just about how much you show up for yourself.
Yeah.
How much bullshit you're willing to dish out to yourself. And big shout out to all the men out there, real men that have taken the action and created success, or are creating the success. Even if it's step one, I've got nothing but respect for you. And they're the type of people, as you know, in jail, that were up front. And, the rest were just like, trying to do their best to sort of mingle in and hey, do you want something? I'll grab this, I'll grab that, I'll do, whatever they needed to do to make sure they survived. Yeah. Don't be a survivor, be a thriver and step out in front and get uncomfortable and do the shit that you need to do every single day. Because I promise you, and it starts in the morning. Make it start from then.
Win the morning, win the day, they say, right?
It's
so true, but right?
It's people, and people go, oh, that's cliche, and like these sayings, they come from people at some point in time,
of course,
that recognise the importance of that day. Look, here's a thing people say to me, even when I was a trainer. Our program still got that, online program still got that component, but in general, what they'll do is they'll say, but my morning, I missed a morning, and I start at 1 o'clock. I say, that is your morning then.
That's exactly right, yeah.
And I said, so when you wake up at 1, you're a shift worker.
Yeah.
You can be a shift worker, you can get great money, start investing in the goals, dreams, aspirations that you've had. Yep. And then maybe you've set aside the first 2 hours of your time off, because everyone's got usually it's about 3 hours you've got stuff to do, and you could go and watch Netflix series or something of that nature. It's your life. But don't then complain about, hey, I wish, how long are you in Europe for? You'll get a question like that. I'm like, 8 weeks. And they're like, how do you do that? Like, I wish I could do that. I don't have enough time to get off my work. How many times do you do it a year? I'm hoping I get to it at the end of this year. And that's the conversations people are having. Yeah. And like, people will beat up on this. It is a weak conversation to yourself if you want to live that particular life of another person's doings, and you sit there in envy and jealousy, but you're saying, I want,
and you're not doing shit about it.
Fuck, you got to show up for yourself every single day. And I'm not judging you. You got to judge yourself on what you're telling yourself. And same thing in jail. If you talk shit in there, you get hit. Life's gonna fucking hit you so hard if you talk shit to yourself on a regular basis. Yeah. And guess what you're gonna do then? When you get to that point where you are surrounded by other people, in jail as the example, you'll be so fearful because in there they'll fuck you up. Right? Yeah. True story.
True story, brother.
And life will do the same. They'll pick you out and they'll say, this bloke shouldn't be in this space. Yeah. But if you say, I'm vulnerable, but I'm willing to learn, and watch me, you give me one task and I won't do it tomorrow, I'll do it right here, right now. And I'll say, hey, that's done. And they flip out and say, that should have taken 2 days. Mate, it's been done in half a day. You reckon the person's not going to give you the next tip?
100%.
1,000,000%. Here's what I'd recommend. Let me connect you with Benny. Let me connect you with this person. Let me connect you with that person. And then your network starts to determine that net worth I've spoken about. And it's not just
I love that
financial.
saying, man.
Yeah, it's not, people
They get stuck in their head about the wealth side of things or money. Yeah.
how's your health, man? Like from the training efforts that you made this morning, how's your wealth? And people, same again, wealth. How's your wealth going because of the actions that you're taking? Your wealth could be that process of productivity, showing up for yourself. Your word is your bond, but wealth is what they manifest in their own mind or perception around owning a Lamborghini, $1 million house, or whatever it is. Let me tell you, wealth's about how you show up for yourself every single day.
Yeah, bro.
Day in, day out, when shit hits the fan, and it's going to hit the fan, and you're able to keep moving forward towards your goal. And that, to me, is the true definition of leadership at its best.
And something that I love that Matthew McConaughey says is that doesn't matter who you are, life doesn't get any easier. You just get better at scraping the shit off your shoes that you step in, right? And that's exactly it. Like, life doesn't get easier. We just get more resilient if we learn from the lessons we've had, right?
You mentioned firstly, how good is he?
He's the man.
Unbelievable. Mate, if anyone hasn't, I do a lot of Audible or even YouTube.
Yeah.
Go and have a look at his stuff. He's unbelievable.
Green lights, bro.
But resilience, because this is the art of finding happiness.
Yeah, bro.
You got to get resilient, otherwise you're going to get hit, and then you're going to stay hit.
Yeah.
And you'll isolate rather than elevate. So there's, it's each to their own. You got to sit, create, and then think to yourself, is something going to happen on this journey? You are dreaming. If you ever go through life and not have stress, just as one, and the rest could go on, all the emotions and all the hardships.
Yeah.
And all. So how do you deal with that? How do you regulate your emotions? How do you recognize it? You pull it out of your invisible backpack, you slap it down on the table. I don't even talk about it. So I don't come home and say to Sal, hey, Sal, guess what happened? I'll go and fix it. And she might say, hey, did you see the email? And I say, oh, it's already sorted, don't worry about it. That's my mentality. And that's that invincible mindset and the art of finding happiness everywhere, because I've removed the stress and I keep moving towards just a healthy, happy, harmonious mindset in life. And I think that's something I want people to understand. You'll always be able to continuously move forward. Look at someone like David Goggins. They're just Ant Middleton. They're just beasts of the mindset.
Had every fucking rough run in life.
What are you going to do at war, right? And this is for everyone. What are you going to do at war? We're all at war now. We're in a group. You're listening at. You're part of our group, and we're moving along. And one of us gets hit, and we're down. Like you can see, we're not saving that person. You sit there and scream and stand up. You're the next person shot. Or you fucking keep moving forward, head down, bum up, and getting shit done, because people are firing in on us. People, until we get that mentality, your mentality will create a better reality. It's huge, right?
Yeah.
It's on the bottom of every one of our workshops, because you stand up, you're going to get shot. Your life's over. You crawl along over glass, over whatever the surface is. You get yourself into a position to make sure that you respond and remove stress out of your life as quickly as possible and move forward. And I heard Ant Middleton talk about this one time. And they talk, do you ever feel bad about killing people, right? And he said there comes a point where there's a threshold and you understand that these people have done things that are just beyond, and they're doing things trying to take you down as well. And I had to move past it. And I want people to think on a level where we're not obviously doing damage to people.
Don't go knocking people.
Clarify that. But where you just accept that you are going to get smashed.
Yep.
Whether it's by people's thoughts, behaviours, beliefs, your own thoughts, behaviours and beliefs. And as soon as you remove all that and say, what's the threshold of life and the life that I want? And it's me moving away from the bullshit I tell myself. Me moving away from the enabling behaviours that are slowing my progress down. Me moving away from being weak.
Yeah.
Not being vulnerable. And starting to step into my strength. And I don't know what your strength is, but you'll know it better than I will. And that comes usually on the back end. If someone truly challenged you in life, you were out on the streets at night and you had no choice, and a gang of 10 men come up to you as an example, what do you do? What do you honestly do? Are you equipped and are you ready, like you spoke about before? What are your morning habits? to do whatever it takes to get you to the point that you need to. And once you get that into your mindset around business, around life, around health, around every single second of those 86,400 seconds, you'll go and fucking crush life hard.
Fuck yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you more, man.
It's yeah, and we just don't, and we aren't seeing it enough, and we're sitting in what I call a very comfortable life and world. And the last couple of years taught me that, and it showed me that even more so. I was able to listen to what everyone was doing and seeing, and I think that's something that people can get more out of. And I'm not here to judge anybody. My life is exactly similar to yours, driven towards one specific goal. But once again, if you're not moving towards your goal based around your thoughts, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, you're letting yourself down.
Yeah.
And you'll know that. And that's where that imposter syndrome will sit tall and strong.
Yeah, man. Comfort, they say, is the killer of all dreams, right?
I love that.
It's the best saying. It's so true, man.
Love that.
Man, so obviously last 10 years has been a fucking huge period of growth for you.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Oh, man. Straight out.
Straight out.
One of the goals is never to see winter again. That's our goal. We head off this winter to Europe for 8 weeks, and basically once I'm there, we'll be in a position where I choose whether I stay here or there, or where do we go from that position. Our biggest concern probably be our dog, and even then we've got someone that could come in, or people that could come in and stay in our house. And I'm comfortable having them there. That's how deep my thought process is. But 10 years from now, man, that life will be true and present. I'll be overseeing a whole bunch of companies around different industries, and working towards the life that we truly want, and that's to be able to travel and see the world, experiences of life, and not stress about, I pull my card out and I want to eat that, drive that, do that, when I want, where I want, with who I want. My partner as an example, I'll do it. And it's not about, people always say, it's about the money. Well, money does help you live life at its highest degree around experiences. People say it's not about the money, and then I say to them, if I give you a free holiday for 6 weeks to Europe, would you take it? And they go, yeah. I said, well, then obviously for yourself, could you achieve that? I said, no, it's impossible. So then it is about the money. It's just about whether you want to put the hard work in for yourself or somebody else. And that, because you're going to work hard no matter what.
Either way, right?
But how could you do it where then gets you into a position where you can enjoy life and see or oversee the business, not be in the business, caught up working every single day. And this year we were talking about buying. Actually, although it would have been the end of last year, should we buy this beautiful, and my partner loves, and I've been in that sort of space as well. We could have bought this little space where there was events happening at it. It was a little bar.
Yeah, cool.
And same thing. Were we going to get caught up in it? So we went and sat there and we looked, and we found that he was coming in and obviously being a part of the business quite often. And that just, as much as it was decked out beautifully, the whole lot, he'd done great work on it. But for us, do I want to sit in that space? No, I don't. I'm at a point in my life where I want to experience life. Since serving 18 years in custody, I want to just be travelling constantly.
Oh, yeah, man.
And people saying, hey, Jeff, here's some funding, a check, banking these coin, to live the life that you want because of the efforts that you've made towards the life that you truly want. And that just takes time, energy, and effort in the space and the environment, but I want it. And I want it bad enough, and I'm going to create it, and nothing will stop me. And once you do that and you stay true to your own word, what's going to happen? And when people see it, they say, and you'll get this as well on your journey. Oh, he can't do that. He won't do that. Then when you're doing stuff, you're driving stuff. Oh, what are you doing, brother? How do I do it? And how do I sign up and so forth? Just be sure to make sure that, and this is for everybody, that you don't get sucked, dry from energy vampires that are just
love that term.
That you want to do it, great. And when you step into the space, I'm going to give you an opportunity. And as soon as they say, I'm not ready yet, or something of that nature, that's just a bullshit term. Cell door opens in the morning. I come into the cell and I say, brother, what did you say last night? Oh, 1 second, brother. I'm not ready yet.
Come
Can you
back in 10
in
minutes. Good luck.
Mate, the bloke's going
The
to
conversation wouldn't have gone that far.
You're knocked out before that happens. And this is life. It's going to knock you out.
Fuck yeah.
And it's going to hit, man. And going to beat you down because that person will then jump on your head and do so forth.
Yeah,
and
man.
that's just the reality of jail, and I'm talking on that level. How can you then manifest that where you same thing, you're ready for life? Because life's going to beat you down. And when you trip, or you're able to flip, I should say, that whole story and use it in an aspect where you are always ready for your goals, dreams, aspirations. You're willing to do whatever it takes past that threshold because you've never been there before, but you're going to break through that. Then that's a magical life exists on the other side. And I think it's something that so many people just got to step out of that vulnerability, the thoughts of who you are, because of other people's projections on you. You'll never do that. You'll never get off drugs, mate. Oh, he's dreaming. And all of a sudden now you're this. Oh, he thinks he's a PT. Oh, that's their
Funny
projections.
how it's the same people that say the same shit, but it's just in a different way, right?
Soon, as I said before, what someone says about me isn't my business. The awareness of myself is how I respond to them. And usually I don't respond. People say stuff and I just don't even respond.
Yeah, that's the best response, right?
Any podcast I'm on, I won't usually respond to. I used to do it. I've stopped looking at the comments because he thinks he's good. Whatever their thoughts are, that's their perception and how they're built. And I'm trying to waste time, energy, and effort on making you like me. You're insane. Yeah. And that's what we do in life. We spend so much time, usually on our inner circle, our family and friends. Please like me. Just be you. Be the most authentic version of yourself. Imagine if your job was just to be yourself. How fucking cool would that be? I can't tell people enough. Step into that space and just be yourself. People, you could be the nicest person in the world. Trust me. People, someone like the body coach Joe Wicks. To me, you look on his page, people still write stuff.
Yeah.
I've met the bloke numerous times.
Yeah.
We interact. Nicest bloke you ever meet.
Yeah.
And to me, you look on his page and you still see comments about, oh, mate, you promoting this from other trainers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a trainer. You're trying to project positivity
here,
into the
really?
world.
Yeah.
What's going on for yourself?
Yeah.
You wish that you were that person, possibly, right?
Correct.
So why do you wish that? Are you working hard enough to do it for yourself? Guaranteed. You create this program and it's a solid program. I've never met a person that's worked so hard and then they go, your program's nothing, see you later. But what happens is we project and say, oh, I wish I was Joe Wicks internally, subconsciously.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, that's not how you train.
How can I channel this anger that I'm feeling towards myself into someone else because I don't know how to deal with it, right?
100%.
Yeah, bro.
Channel it into yourself and start to say, why am I about to write what I write? I don't get on a post and say, you're joking, you're tripping or whatever it is, right? And then go on this little blurb. It's not my business what you want to do with in your life or the next person. And soon as you can say, that's not my business and walk past that, mate, once people started putting masks on dogs in front of me in Sydney, I just was like, the first time I got rolled up, I was like, what are they effing doing in my head?
Yeah.
And then I went, you consumed your energy on somebody else's life.
Yeah.
It's not your business. And I came up with that little term, so I even passed it on to the partner. And there would be times where I'd look and then my partner would say to me, it's not our business. And we'd just keep walking. And that's how, once you get to that level, now I don't even have to say it internally. I'm built that way.
So powerful.
Part of your software, I just walk past. And whether it's on that level or, business or life or projections of other people, I can't. You want to call me Baldy or something in the comments? That's not how you train. This is how I train, and it is how I train.
Yep.
And I'm going to continue training that way. And your thoughts around training, because you're a powerlifter or a CrossFitter, same thing. I'm not a CrossFitter, and I say, they all get injured. It's not my business. If you want to step in that space, you find that powerful. They've got a really strong community, the strongest in the fitness industry by far.
100%.
Right? So there's good and bad in every aspect around particular things. But if you want to become a powerlifter, then that's your choice too. Like, I can't tell you that my version of training is better than your version but I can tell you this: if you don't fucking show up for yourself, you're piss weak. Period. Period.
Straight up.
True story.
Yeah.
Right? Because I tell you now, you do that in jail and you're going to get found out in 5 minutes. And
Yeah, man.
that's something and that's not my thoughts towards anybody,
Yeah.
but more so for yourself. So
Yeah.
if I don't show up for me, I'll put it this way, probably a better way of putting it, so people understand. If I say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't do none of that, I am piss weak towards that human being I'm going to become. And that's where this male strength starts to get lost.
Yeah.
Meet at 10 o'clock, bang, doesn't happen. Traffic's going to happen, flat tire, cool. But if you're constantly late towards whatever it is in life, then you got to ask yourself, why are you enabling this behaviour? You don't believe in yourself,
Leaps and bounds, yeah.
Start to step into it. Start to try that thing that you're meant to do. Shit, I can actually do this. A belief gets created. One layer of belief. Then you do something else, and so forth, and all of a sudden you become this strong person that will never look back in the old version of yourself, other than knowing that you grew into a strong mofo that would not accept anything but the best efforts towards oneself. And that's the conversation I just spoke about to everybody out there.
Man, I could sit here and fucking talk with you all day because this has been fucking sick. I've actually really enjoyed every second of it. But before we wrap up, brother, if you could give yourself a piece of advice to your 15-year-old self, what would be that piece of advice?
Listen to others that are in a space that you want to be in, and take that advice. I was at South at that time.
Yeah.
And I just didn't. There was people, Daryl Trindle was halfback at the time, blokes like that, Troy Slattery, and because they'd grown up in the area, same area as me, and I just, if I had listened to them, who knows? Look, I wouldn't have been the person I am today, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I'm also, who knows? Maybe I still would have went down that path and been inspirational in that journey.
Yep.
And I was built like that as an example, and I'd say that, be vulnerable. Because
fuck yeah,
don't think you're tough. Be tough for the true version of yourself. Because I wasn't, and I just let your normal human instincts take over.
Yeah.
And survival became the only thought, and it became so instinctive that that's all I did. I woke up and crime was the first way I was thinking about making money.
Yep.
I didn't open myself up to anything, and I had people in my space, but I was too good in my, and I never said that, but it's subconsciously.
That's what was coming up.
I was too good to listen because I wasn't willing to be vulnerable.
Yep.
I didn't know, and that boy, to this day, I'll be straight out and honest. I think I grew 2 years ago, and people go, "Are you joking?" But like people around me, if they spoke to you, they say, "No, he's beast." But for me, I had some toxic behaviours around womanising and cheating on my partner up until my current partner.
Yeah.
And until I removed that bullshit of validation, and I had to sit with myself, what was it? And I looked at validation. My parents had left me posted as a kid. I didn't feel loved. Therefore, each girl they gave me, gave me the love and safety, security, stability of me being a man, and that was my version of being a man, picking up a girl. Yeah. And I went, man, that's not man shit, that's boy shit.
Yeah, bro.
And 2 years ago, I said, I'm going to commit to this partner, and man, my phone would be in my pocket. I would be scared. My phone sits anywhere. My partner can grab it and post a photo or whatever, and I'm not worried about it. And the amount of stress it removed from my life, the vulnerability, I had to look into myself. And to be straight out, I reached out to a lot of ex-partners and had conversations and said, I wasn't a man, I was a boy, and I hope you know that I just wanted you to know that I've grown, and I accept that I wasn't of good behaviour in our relationship, and that that's where I let go of that heaviness from the past. I can't change it, but what did you learn from it to grow and prosper in this beautiful thing with your life? And That's what I'd say to everyone. Be vulnerable and just listen to those in front of you. And I was learning from people that hadn't cheated and were in long-term relationships, even younger people. And I was like, what are they doing? What are their qualities? I wasn't built like that. And then I just started to learn, say, fire, you know, I just don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And I've stepped out of it and stepped into this, and it's been magical, man.
Man, they say that success leaves clues, so it's always good to look up to the others we do look up to and actually take their advice, right? Something
And
I
take
struggle
it.
with as well, man.
And take it, because people will ask me, and,
Yep.
and I got this golden rule. If someone asks you for advice, give them one piece, and if they don't apply it, let them sit with
Yeah,
it.
bro. Yep.
They might not be ready at that point in time to apply that one thing. Let it go. That's on them. And at the right time when they apply that, I'll give them the next piece to the puzzle. Because trying to put so much time, energy, and effort into their space of their healing is going to smash your journey towards what's important to yourself. And that to me is powerful. So
Love it, brother. Well, man, thank you very much for coming on. I fucking
Much love,
appreciate you.
That was
I already
awesome.
respected you because we have like such a similar history, but after having this chat, man, you've got so much knowledge to share. I fucking love that. Where can people find you if they want to find you, man?
jeffreymorgan.com.au, and then on there, all the socials are there.
Yep.
The conversations, we do a lot around, just so people know, mental health, leadership, mindset, in corporate spaces, schools, organisations, communities. We also have the online program, the Cut the Bullshit program.
Yeah.
It's about drawing a line in the sand, everything I've spoken about today. The old version of yourself, you let go, and from today onwards, you step across that line and we help you create the life that you create.
Yeah.
And that's just about saying, and you'll create that, not me. I don't tell you how to live. We'll just help you recognise where you are, what life you truly want, and help you bridge the gap in between, keeping you accountable in that space. So reach out, have that conversation, make it happen.
Sweet. Thank you, my bro. I really appreciate it.